Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome to Alif Technology Learning Series. We are now officially starting this webinar on Islamic social finance in post-COVID era. To you, Riaz bhai.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Sabse pehle, so welcome to another session, and this time related to Islamic social finance, which is more relevant during the month of Ramadan, which is going on now. As State Bank now, we are in Pakistan. Actually, the market of Islamic banking is growing very fast, at a very fast pace, and we are expecting that with our targets, which we are setting it up for the next 5 years. We hope that the Islamic banking is going to be one of the significant portion of the banking within our network. So we look forward for today's webinar and the speakers to hear from them. And NIBAF actually offers a lot of courses, including the IBCC and the small certificates which we offer for various bankers with banking fertility, which so we are actually part of the contribution within the Islamic banking cycle. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Riaz bhai. Riaz bhai, Mr. Riaz Chunara is the MD of NIBAF, State Bank of Pakistan. Now I will welcome Dr. Kaisar Anis, who is the President of Pakistan Business and Professional Council, Abu Dhabi. To you, Dr. Kaisar.
Alif, for inviting to this important subject and important event. And I thank especially both Mr. Asif and Mr. Dr. Farooq on the subject. As you all know that Pakistan Business Council is here since 2004, working to promote business between Pakistan and UAE, and also developing the businessmen and the professionals and the community. Is playing a series of roles, and especially very closely working with the State Bank of Pakistan in respect to Mr. Riaz must be knowing it. On the RDA account, we have series of webinar, which certainly has become a game changer in the economy of Pakistan, which crossing more than $1 billion opening account and in other areas. Always the subject of Islamic finance is so important, and I always say Islamic finance where both parties are the partners in business, and that is the good part, and that is both party is attending the challenges or the profit of the business. That is very so important now in the pandemic situation. This challenge has overcome to many businessmen. The pandemic completing more than 1 year, the life is at stake, the business at stake, the community at stake, and I commend to the government of UAE for doing such extraordinary work in mass vaccine and mass testing, which result that I'm sitting in the office and working. And in other countries, you have seen it is not there. So we are very thankful to our rulers and our authorities for doing extraordinary work. Coming back to on the present topic, which is again very important, and I'm sure at the end everyone will be benefited on that account. Pakistan Business Professional Council is working since long to support on this. Our famous Indus Hospital and School of Nursing is in a school, and it is a way of organization to follow Indus Hospital and follow the School of Nursing. I must say it's a way and it's a model which has been done from Abu Dhabi. And this is what the Islamic, where people have contributed their zakat, sadqas and everything. And today is famous in the world, not even in Pakistan, as you all know. And we are supporting both in this hospital and School of Nursing. Both we are working on that account. Similarly, we have the Diabetic Center, which is again constructed from here to Islamabad, Akwat Foundation, the Lady Dufferin Hospital, Shifa Hospital, Midland Doctor. These are all been supported by Pakistan Business Professional Council from here. And in this holy month of Ramadan, I will, with this event, I'm requesting all of the person who's listening or who will listen on YouTube to come forward and contribute as much as they can during this period. And I again thank Aleph for inviting me, and my best wishes for this event. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kassar. And I now officially welcome you to all. Sorry. I welcome you all from this Alif Tech e-learning series. At Alif Technology, we always strive to bring, the participant discussion on the latest technology and financial updates and trend around the globe. Alif Technology and NIBAF, State Bank of Pakistan, and Pakistan Business Council and Professional Council Abu Dhabi welcome you to this webinar on Islamic social finance in the post-COVID-19 era. This event is sponsored by IBA Alumni UAE Chapter and UAE Chapter of ICAP members. The global pandemic have caused the widespread of coronavirus have imposed not only medical and health challenges to mankind, but also brought an economic crisis. Consequently, such a crisis has slowed down the world GDP growth and turned back by the poverty by the clock. In this situation, Islamic social finance consists of zakat, sadaqah, waqf, and other Islamic mode of giving can effectively alleviate poverty if used in the right manner. Islam offers numerous, applicable solutions that can best assist the mitigation of poverty in this situation. Mr. Riaz have already mentioned that in this month of Ramadan is most popular known for this the zakat and sadaqah. That's why we have organized this event. In this webinar, the world-class expert will share their insight and discuss the importance of Islamic social finance with a special focus on zakat and its calculation. I thank all my esteemed, speakers for joining us and our knowledge partner and industry partner for making this happen. This webinar is our partner are Institute of Cost and Management of Pakistan, the University of Lahore, Alhamd Academy, and IBA SIF. Our first speaker is Ms. Iram Sabah. Will be Sabah, and let me introduce her details to you. Dr. Iram Sabah has more than 15 years of progressive regulatory research, training, and teaching experience with organization of international repute. Currently, she is on deputation from the State Bank of Pakistan to IBA Karachi, where she is assistant professor and program director. She is first Pakistani female to be part of International Sharia Advisory Board in Southeast Asia and Middle East. She has extensive regulatory experience with specific focus to promote Islamic finance while working in State Bank of Pakistan and contributed to the promotion and growth of the kafir industry while working with Security Exchange Commission of Pakistan. She holds CIFP with distinction and PhD in Islamic finance from INSEEF. She holds Masters with distinction and PhD from IIBA London. She is also Sharia registered financial planner. To you, Ms. Ira.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to all of you. Thank you so much, Brother Syed Asif and Dr. Farooq for the invitation. Indeed, this is a very important topic on which we are going to discuss today. The topic that was discussed with Dr. Farooq and Brother Syed Asif Zaman as well for today's session is importance of Islamic social finance. You know, Islamic finance is growing rapidly all over the world. But when we talk about Islamic social finance, we see that there are certain gaps to it. People know a lot about Islamic finance, but they want to see the impact created by Islamic finance in the countries, and especially on the poverty, in order to eliminate the poverty, what Islamic finance have done so far. So today I'm going to talk about importance of Islamic social finance. That is a very important pillar when you talk about Islamic economic system. How I will discuss this topic, just a brief introduction what Islamic social finance is, what are the examples of Islamic social finance, and why it is so important, especially having the COVID-19 since last year. So if we see all over the world, the global poverty was 9.2% all over the world. And for the past 2 decades, all the international institutions were trying in order to eliminate or remove poverty from the lower developing countries. And the work was applauded by many institutions, and we were quite successful. But with financial crisis 2007, 2008, and then the latest crisis that happened because of the COVID-19, all the efforts are trembling right now, where we were earlier helping the poor people, but now again, once again, the world is stepping back and moving into the hot waters of poverty. So if we see that the COVID-19 pandemic threatens to reverse the decades of efforts and the work done by the international institution, and the future of our generation is basically at stake right now. Moving forward, if we see the COVID-19 is impacting financial institutions, businesses, academia, the industries like tourism, aviation industry, all the industries are getting impact of COVID-19. We can see that people are not sending their children to the school. Not everyone have the liberty of having internet or Wi-Fi at home. So the poor is suffering much more as compared to the rich community. The job losses are there, businesses are closed, we have strict lockdown. And we can see that in the neighbor countries, in India, how very recently the second wave of COVID created a lot of problem and a lot of sadness. Even in Pakistan, when we are talking today, we have a lockdown and people are suffering, though we have the month of Ramadan. And this month is very important for the businessmen, because this month is the month where people like to spend not only on charity in the shape of zakat and fitrana, but also for their grocery and for their shopping on their clothes and so on. But everything due to COVID-19 is at halt. People are suffering. If you ask any single person, what is the problem right now? The first answer that you are going to get is COVID-19 and its impact. So you can see that the job loss, the business is suffering, the children, families, they are having psychological problem, they are having health problem, they don't have food to eat. So having all these issues right now, what we can do, being a Muslim populated country, or the lesson for the other countries, how we can take help from the Islamic social finance, we will discuss that in a while. The active cases, this is the data for the January this year, but still we are having the continuous increase in the COVID-19 infected people. And it is not easy because COVID-19 patient can get serious at any time. And the ventilators are over-occupied, hospitals are suffering, the first line nurses and staff, everybody is quite tired right now because they are working 24/7. And the numbers are increasing all over the world. So with all these problems, what we see, on one hand, we have issues of COVID-19 resulting and impacting everybody and every single person in the world in one way or the other way. Either they have lost their job, the businessmen, they don't have the avenues how to earn the profit. The banks, they have to lay down some of their staff, and if they don't have any financial problem, then the people are suffering from the mental problems. Now, having said that, to what extent government can suffering from COVID-19 or have impact of COVID-19 in any shape? Government can support to people to a certain extent, but government can't take control of every single person due to their own limitations. So here comes the role of Islamic social finance. People always criticize Islamic finance that we don't see the achievement of Maqasid al-Sharia. We don't see the impact on the people at ground. So right now is the time, and I will show you some examples as well, how Islamic social finance came into the picture and why it is so important to use Islamic social finance in order to manage the problems created by not only COVID-19, but also the general problems of the country. So before moving towards the Islamic social finance solutions, what it means, what is the meaning of Islamic social finance? So the term, as heavily used all over the research papers, Islamic social finance, it refers to the Islamic ethics and intended for the social benefit modes that are zakat, almsgiving, waqf, endowment, sadaqah, charity, as well as qarz-e hasana, interest-free loans. We have a hand raise here. Are we, Brother Asif?
No problem. We will, after you, when you have finished your, we can answer the questions. There is no problem.
All right, thank you. So we have zakat, sadaqah, charity, waqf, and you can see that how different countries have utilized these modes in order to eradicate poverty or take care of the achievement of the SDGs. And I will link it to the SDGs as well. So when one defines Islamic finance, it is important to mention that Islamic social finance is also part of that. And I prefer to say that to have Islamic economic system in which we have Islamic finance and also Islamic social finance. Social finance, or if I say Islamic social finance, is very important. The reason behind is it is very inclusive, and we talk about inclusiveness. And the scale is huge, more than 22 million people giving zakat every now and then, every year. We will see the results, how it impacts. And the impact of the social finance from the point of view of transparency, governance, and the impact is heavily seen in the examples where the countries have used Islamic social finance. Now, the first example regarding zakat, which is one of the important pillars of Islamic social finance, according to Islamic Development Bank, only the zakat alone is US $1 trillion, more than US $1 trillion per year. So you can imagine that how big is the impact of zakat if we use it productively, proactively, with proper sound system. We can create a lot of impact, and still we are doing it. One of the example I would like to give from the waqf point of view for the Taj Mahal example, the price of Taj Mahal, the right now is 2.5 trillion US dollar, and this was given as a waqf, as a gift. Another example I would like to give is of Indonesia. This is one of the beautiful example of Indonesia and how Indonesia have utilized Islamic social finance in order to create the impact. So countries need to focus on this. The tool of waqf and zakat were used side by side. And what happened with that? That the Indonesia used it for the social safety net. A clear example is the zakat fund is utilized. $350,000 was used to finance construction of a micro hydel power plant in Jambi and providing electricity for the household, schools, clinics. At least 4,448 people are directly getting benefit of this. Now, this type of utilization of Islamic social finance is needed by the country, especially the underdeveloped and developing countries. Another example is a very important example from Malaysia. Malaysia is always leading the way, and Indonesia is also moving forward in order to create impactful investment through Islamic finance. And the example is in front of us in the case of Malaysia. Now, what they have done is through utilization of waqf, building affordable houses on waqf land for the bottom 40% was recently mooted by the Malaysian federal government. And previously, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, and the state of Selangor in Malaysia allowed the development of waqf land by way of leasehold basis for commercial properties. And this method uses the Waqf's principle of perpetuity, meaning that there is no transfer of ownership involved. And this same method could be applied for the affordable housing development in Malaysia to aid the bottom 40% further. They can move forward. Now, these are the examples. If you see how Islamic social finance is creating impact on the bottom people who are living at below the poverty line, and we have the examples in front of us. Having said that about the examples from the different countries, whenever we talk about Islamic finance, people always talk about Islamic banks should do more. Whereas there is a need to create awareness that Islamic banks are the small or just the tip of the iceberg. The Islamic economic system is huge. We need to rely on the charity, donations, zakat, waqf, and we have to work hand in hand, side by side, in order to see the impact of these social finance contracts. Now, one thing here, it is very important to mention that, especially during the COVID-19, what I notice is we don't have Islamic insurance prevalent as we have Islamic banking. We do give charity at our own, but we don't trust the governments. We don't give the charity or the donation or zakat to the government so that government can further utilize that. But we trust more on the institutions like, for example, I give you the name of Ahuwat in this hospital. You know, we have so many other hospitals, Shaukat Khanam Hospital, and then Ahuwat is at the top position in Pakistan when you talk about the trust on the institution where you give your zakat, and in this hospital as well. As Dr. S. Kesar Anis also mentioned, that people in Pakistan, they feel better if they give their donations, their charity, their zakat to the institutions directly, rather than giving it to the government and then the government disperse it at their own. And the reason behind is the trust factor that people face when they are giving their donations. Having this missing link, what we need from the government when you talk about Islamic social finance, we need to establish the multilateral standard setting bodies. There are some institutions developing the international Waqf standards and so on, but we need to have institutions with the credibility, with the honesty, with the transparency, so that people can give more charity to the government as well. So we need to focus on the role of the regulators, the government authorities, the multilateral standard setting bodies in the case of Islamic social finance. Why? Because social finance is one of the most important pillar that can bring back prosperity in not only Muslim countries, but also in the world at large. When we talk about the impact of COVID-19 on the economy, it's a global crisis. As I mentioned, that every single human being, every single country got impact of COVID-19. In this particular war against COVID, we all are together. Uncertain economic crisis is there. We don't know what will be the extent of the impact. Even the World Bank, IMF, they have given their figures last year, but this year with the second wave and the third ongoing wave, the figures are no more realistic because the impact is quite huge. Poor people, they are not able to pay. They have their recovery issues, MSMEs, and then the drastic increase in the bad debts. If you talk about the financial system, people to whom you believe that they are in the upper middle class, but after the COVID-19, they are no more in the upper middle class or even in the middle class. So State Bank of Pakistan have given the time for the repayment, and the moratorium was introduced in the State Bank of Pakistan at the last year, early months, but it has to go beyond that. The safety of the staff who is laid down, they don't have a job right now, and the public at large, and the funding issues for the Islamic microfinance institutions, for example, funding for Ahuwat, funding for the other institutions, how they are going to get it. Though Ahuwat is very safe, one of the very famous institution, the social finance institution, very safe because people give them donations quite a lot. Businesses, we have a very respectable people in the panel, and they can tell that how the profit is decreased for the businessmen. They're suffering, they don't have the infrastructure, they don't have the support. And I don't blame the
I think there is a problem on Dr. Iram's end. The internet connection is weak, I think. The slide has stopped the video as well.
Dr. Iram, can you hear us? Dr. Iram? Dr. Farooq, shall we go to the next speaker?
I think that she might be having some connection problem. Let me just send her a message.
No problem, sure. Sorry for this interruption, and just sorting out this internet problem, I think, at Ms. Iram Sabah's end. Meanwhile, I think somebody, Mr. Nazir, have raised hand. Mr. Nazir, do you have any question? You are allowed to talk, Mr. Nazir. Okay.
I think that we can move on to our next speaker, and then once she is online, once she is back, we will continue from her presentation as well.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Farooq. And now let me introduce our next speaker, is Mufti Bilal Umarji. He completed his Islamic theology study in Darul Uloom Bari and trained as a Mufti in Darul Uloom, Blackburn, UK. He holds bachelor's in banking and law from London Metropolitan University and postgraduate diploma in Islamic finance from IIBI London. He is also a certified Sukuk professional from Al Huda CIBE and certified work professional from IIBFT. Previously, he has served as a research assistant to the chair of Al Kalam Sharia panel as Imam of Shiford Masjid and led Zakat Advisory Service at National Zakat Foundation. Currently, he is consultant for Islamic Finance Guru and co-founder of Islamic Sharia Expert Limited. To you, Mufti Umar.
Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wal aqibatu lil muttaqin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidi Habib al-Mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everybody. First of all, I would like to thank Alif Technology for inviting me today to talk about this very important topic of the zakat. Now, it is not possible to actually discuss Islamic social finance without discussing about zakat in itself. Zakat is one of the pillars of Islam. The Prophet ﷺ informed us in a hadith narrated in the Bukhari and Muslim that Islam itself has been built upon 5 pillars. And one of these pillars is the zakat. And unfortunately, this is one, and I would not be exaggerating if I was to make the claim that zakat is the least understood pillar within the Muslim community at every level, whether it is at the distribution level, many people do not know how to distribute zakat, who to give zakat to. There's a lot of misconception regarding who are eligible to receive zakat and what can we do with the zakat. What kind of project can we do with the zakat? At the same time, there are many people in terms of zakat payers that do not understand how to calculate zakat. And every Ramadan, whenever I get involved in doing zakat calculation for organizations such as National Zakat Foundation, I come across dozens and dozens of people who have never paid zakat in their entire life. And sometimes it can go on for like 30, 40, even 50 years. People have never paid zakat in their life. They call us and then they say, I've never paid zakat in my life. I do not understand how to calculate zakat. I do not understand what is zakat. Even yesterday, 3 people like that called saying they do not understand how to calculate zakat and they do not even know what zakat is. So this is something very sad, because today we're talking about the importance of Islamic social finance, and yet there are many aspects of Islamic social finance in terms of zakat, work, etc., that are not understood within the Islamic community. So today, inshallah, I will try to explain very briefly what is zakat, the importance in Islam, and also a very brief introduction to how we should be doing the calculation of the zakat, and what are the zakatable assets that a person must be paying zakat on. Now, one of the things that we need to understand is the actual definition of the word zakat. Many people, if you were to ask them, do you translate the word zakat? They will tell you things like tax, for example. And this is a very big misconception, because tax, although it's something that we do not like, by nature, human beings do not like tax. Why? Because many people feel tax is a form of punitive measure, as opposed to zakat. Zakat is not a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why we have to understand that even though zakat might function like a tax system, but in reality, it is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Zakat in itself has been translated by the scholars in 3 different meanings. One meaning is that zakat means purification. One, it means growth. And in the third meaning, the scholars have said that zakat means blessing. So why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala call zakat by zakat? If zakat is a tax system, then why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not call it directly in the Arabic term tax? Why would he use the term zakat for? Well, the scholars have explained that in reality, the reason why zakat is called zakat is because the act of donating zakat is a mean of purification for the payer. And it is also a mean of purification for the one who is receiving zakat. How is that so? Well, the one who is giving zakat, the scholar says, there is hope that he will be purifying his heart from greed. People that are greedy do not like to give money away. But by giving money, by trying to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and giving this 2.5% away, there is hope that this will help in purifying his heart from greed, and also it will be a mean of purifying his soul from sin as well. And for the one who is receiving zakat, this will be a mean of purification from jealousy, because the one who is deprived of everything, the one who is deprived from things like money and land and fruits, etc., etc., if you were to share these things with that person, then maybe there is a mean that he will feel less jealousy towards his brothers and sisters in Islam. Zakat has also been defined as growth, and the scholar says that the one who will be paying the zakat, then inshallah ta'ala, he will either see the growth in his wealth in this world, and if he doesn't see the growth in the wealth in this world, then surely he will see the growth in the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. So this is why zakat is called zakat. But it is also a mean of growth for the one who is receiving the zakat. Because if, for example, a person who's got £0, $0 in his bank account, and you come and give him $200 of zakat money, then that person will witness his finance going from 0 to 200. So this is growth. So this is why zakat, it is called zakat, because it's also a mean of growth for the one who is receiving the zakat. And finally, this is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Zakat means blessing, and surely it is a mean of blessing for the reason I have just mentioned. If we are going to give zakat, then inshallah ta'ala we will see the blessing in this world, we will see the blessing on the day of judgment for the payers and also for the one who is receiving the zakat. In the technical term, in the jurisprudence, the word zakat has been defined as the act of giving a fixed percentage of wealth, i.e. 2.5%. This 2.5% has been prescribed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and these 2.5% of zakat wealth, they must be given to deserving recipients. These recipients, they have been mentioned in the Quran under the 8 categories of zakat in one verse in Surah Tawbah. And outside of these 8 categories, we do not have the choice to give zakat to anyone else. So why do we pay zakat? As I mentioned about the blessing that zakat entails, zakat is also a mean of thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the wealth that He has bestowed upon us. But it is also the right of the needy, the right of the recipient. By not paying zakat, we are actually taking away their right. We are actually taking away the money that they deserve. The best way to understand that is, imagine that you're walking on the street and you see a homeless person sitting over there with his hat in front of him and few coins inside, and you walk past that person, and instead of putting some coins in the hat, you take away the coins away from the hat. How disgusted we would feel if we were to witness this in front of our eyes. Well, by not paying zakat, this is exactly what we are doing. We are taking away the money, these few coins that belongs to the poor person, to the needy, to the recipient of zakat. We are actually taking it away. That 2.5% that we must be given in zakat does not belong to us. It belongs to the needy. It belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So today, because we are talking about Islamic social finance, Dr. Iram has mentioned already the importance of pulling the zakat together to achieve certain goals, to achieve the SDG. And the pool of zakat is so large that we cannot ignore it. We cannot ignore it. It has been estimated that the zakat pool can go between 500 billion, and according to some people, it can reach even $1 trillion a year. Now you think about it. If we are in need of between $3 to $4 trillion a year to achieve these SDGs, and the zakat itself can bring $1 trillion a year, then how can we even ignore it? So it is important, just as well as working on the project that will help us to attain these SDGs, we must also work towards educating people about how to calculate the zakat correctly if we want this project to be fulfilled. So who must pay zakat? Zakat is paid by the Muslim. Obviously, this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is not compulsory upon the non-Muslim to pay the zakat. We are not going to be telling the Muslim to start paying zakat. Zakat is a liability upon the Muslim who is also an adult, i.e. the one who has reached puberty, and the one who is sane, who is of sound mind, and also upon the one who is in complete ownership of the nisab. Although there is a difference of opinion between the scholars as to whether the child also must be liable for the zakat if the wealth reaches the nisab. But according to the Hanafi school of jurisprudence, these are the 4 conditions for zakat to be compulsory upon a person. Now, what do we actually mean by the nisab? So we said that one of the conditions for the person to pay zakat is that he must be in complete ownership of the nisab. What is the nisab? Well, the nisab is a threshold that determines whether a person must be paying zakat or not. There are two nisab, the gold nisab and the silver nisab. There are lots of misconception regarding the nisab. There are people that believe that the nisab is the exemption amount, i.e., if the nisab is around $400, for example, then, and if a person has got $1,000 on the zakat anniversary date, then he will not be paying zakat on the first $400. He will be paying zakat only on the $600. That is not the case. Zakat, the nisab is just there to tell us whether we actually need to pay zakat or not. Once the zakatable asset has reached the nisab, then we must pay zakat on the total zakatable asset that we have on our zakat anniversary date. There are two nisab, the gold nisab and the silver nisab. There are some difference of opinion on how to use it, but the best way to use the nisab is as follows. If a person has got gold only as asset and nothing else, no cash, no nothing, no business asset, no nothing, then to determine whether this person must pay zakat or not, he must take the value of the gold that he has on his zakat anniversary date and compare it against the gold nisab on the day itself. If the gold reaches the value of the nisab, then he must pay zakat. If it's below the nisab, then he does not need to pay zakat. But he will only be using the gold nisab if he has gold only as zakatable asset and nothing else. But for the majority of us that do not just possess gold, but we also have cash, we also have silver, for all those people, we must ignore the gold nisab to determine whether we need to pay zakat or not. The nisab that we need to look at is the silver nisab. And therefore, on the zakat anniversary date, we will look at all the cash value that we have. If we have gold, then we take the value of this gold, we add it onto the cash value as well. We'll do the same thing with the silver that we may have. And after adding all these values together, we will be comparing it against the silver nisab. If the value reaches the silver nisab, or if it goes above, then we must be paying zakat on the total value of the asset that we have. And if it's anything below the silver nisab, then we do not need to pay zakat. There are some difference of opinion, as I said, in regards to which nisab should we be using to calculate the zakat. There are some scholars who said we should be using the gold nisab, etc. However, as far as I know, in the UK, especially with National Zakat Foundation, we have always advocating the use of the silver nisab to determine whether a person must be paying zakat or not. Now, there are a couple of points that we must remember. We must all have a zakat anniversary date. Many people tend to say we pay the zakat in Ramadan. Okay, what does that actually mean? First of all, this is a misconception that zakat must be paid in Ramadan. Zakat does not have to be paid in Ramadan. Paying zakat in Ramadan has got no added value. There is no extra reward to pay zakat in Ramadan. You must all have a zakat anniversary date. The zakat anniversary date is actually the first time in your life when you receive wealth which was either equal or above the nisab at that time. Most of us wouldn't remember that date. We wouldn't even know about that date. If that is the case, then you must all fix a date within the Islamic calendar, any date that is easy for you to remember. And every year when it comes to that date, that means the zakat has become a liability upon yourself, and you will all be paying the zakat on the value of the zakatable asset that you have on the day itself. So zakat is a snapshot calculation. So for example, if my zakat day is 1st of Muharram, for example, then I will be paying zakat on whatever asset that I have on the 1st of Muharram, whatever zakatable asset that I have on the 1st of Muharram. Even if some of these assets was not with me for a full 12 months period, it doesn't matter. I will still have to pay zakat on those assets. There is also a misconception regarding having asset for a full 12 months period before calculating zakat. Although this is a valid principle for many scholars, but if we were to apply this principle correctly, then we would end up paying zakat not one time in the year, but multiple times in the year, which is completely difficult for most of us. It is just not practical. So based on the Hanafi method of calculating zakat, the best way to do it is to have your zakat anniversary date and to calculate your zakat on all the zakatable asset value that you have on the day and pay zakat on that. So what are the zakatable assets? Well, on your zakat anniversary date, you're going to be looking at the gold that you have and the silver that you have in any forms. Whether you're keeping it for your personal use or not, or as an investment, you must pay zakat on the gold and silver that you have on the zakat anniversary date. This is according to the school of the Hanafis. Yes, there are some differences of opinion between the scholars, between the Shafi'is and Hanbalis and Malikis, but according to the Hanafis, irrespective of why you bought the gold or how you received it, whether you received it through your marriage or whether you inherited it, you must pay zakat on all the gold and silver that you have. If your jewelry is mixed with other metal other than gold and silver, like for example, you have a gold bracelet mixed with platinum, for example, then your liability is only on the gold content and not on the platinum. The only two metals that you must pay zakat on is gold and silver, and there is no zakat to be paid on any other precious stones, for example, such as diamonds or even pearls. There is no zakat on these things unless they are tradable assets, which we will see in a moment. Moving on to the second type of zakatable asset that you need to consider on your zakat anniversary date is the cash. So in all its form, you must pay zakat on the cash that you have in your saving account, in your current account, the cash that you have at home. If you're hiding it under the mattress from the taxman, you must pay zakat on all the cash that you have. Yes, the only type of cash that you will not be paying zakat on is those cash that you have received through haram means, such as the interest. This haram money does not belong to you. It doesn't belong to us. It must be given away. If people owe you money, then you must also pay zakat on that money if you have lent it to them and you are expecting them to pay you. As long as you have the hope that they are going to pay you back, you must pay zakat on that money. Similarly, if you run a business and you sold some of your commercial goods on credit and people owe you that money and you're hoping for them to pay you back, then you must pay zakat on that money as well. There are certain debts that are not zakatable, such as your wage. If you're expecting to receive your wage, then you do not pay zakat on that. If you're expecting to receive your shares of the inheritance, you do not need to pay zakat on that if you haven't received it yet. Or similarly, if you sold something like a personal item on eBay and the person hasn't paid you yet, you do not need to pay zakat on that money until the money actually reaches into your possession. Business assets. From a Sharia perspective and for zakat calculation purposes, the definition of a business asset is anything that you buy with the intention of reselling. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a pen, whether it's a car, whether it's a house, anything you buy with the intention of reselling, you must be paying zakat on its full value on the zakat anniversary date. If you have any businesses, then the zakatable asset of that business is the cash, is the stock, so anything that you buy for resale, and is also the receivable, i.e. the commercial goods that you have sold on credit. You must pay zakat on the money that you're expecting to receive. However, if you're selling a service, for example, and the person hasn't paid you, then you do not need to pay zakat on the money that you're expecting to receive. Similarly, you do not pay zakat on intangible asset, such as goodwill, or the equipment, which is part of your business, like the property or the plant or the cars that you use for your business. You do not need to pay zakat on these things. If you have shares in a company, so if you're a trader, if you buy shares to sell, like people that do day trading, although day trading is not considered to be Sharia compliant, but if you buy shares for resale, you must pay zakat on the full value of the shares on your zakat anniversary date. However, if you bought the shares for long-term purposes, such as to receive dividends, then you do not need to pay zakat on the entire value of the shares. you must pay zakat on the zakatable asset of the company. How you're going to do that is you will have to look at the balance sheet of that company, identify the zakatable asset, and pay the zakat according to the proportion of ownership you have in that company. If that is too complex for you to do, then a few years ago, myself and a couple of other scholars at the National Zakat Foundation, we studied the balance sheet of the FTSE 100 companies. And we first eliminated the companies that are related to the financial institution company, like the banks, etc. And we were left with around 66 companies that, you know, we looked at their balance sheet and we tried to identify the zakatable asset, and we came up with a proxy, which is 25%. And what that proxy does is basically, on your zakat anniversary date, the shares that you have bought for long-term purposes, you will take the full value of the shares, take out 25%, and pay zakat on that. So if you have shares worth $1,000, for example, you do not need to pay zakat on the full $1,000, but you just need to pay zakat on $250. And inshallah, you would have covered all your zakat liability. There is no reason to believe that this proxy does not work in any other companies outside of the FTSE 100. Startups, nowadays, there are a lot of Muslims that are investing in startups. In the startups companies, they have zakatable assets sometimes. If they do, then the founders are responsible to pay zakat on the percentage of ownership they have over these assets. But if you're an investor, have been buying equity into the startup company, then we need to look at the intention. Did you invest for capital gains, i.e. did you invest to sell your shares and make a profit? If that is the case, then you need to pay zakat on the full value of your shares. However, if you invested in that company for long-term purposes, then you're just liable to pay zakat on the proportion of ownership that you have over the zakatable asset of the company. Now, zakat is also payable on the convertible debts or the convertible loan note, although not all of them are Sharia compliant. But even if they are not Sharia compliant, you must pay zakat on the money that has been invested in these convertible securities. In terms of convertible equities, such as SAFE, again, it depends how it is structured. Some structure are such that you must pay zakat on it, while some others might not need to pay zakat. So this is something that you need to be doing the assessment on an individual basis. If you have investment in sukuk, well, any type of sukuk that you have purchased with the intention of reselling, you must pay zakat on its full value on the zakat anniversary date. However, if you have other type of sukuk, such as sukuk ijara, then you do not need, all you need to do is pay zakat on the revenues that you have received, you have accumulated up to your zakat anniversary date. If you have a sukuk al-murabaha, you must pay zakat on its entire value, because this is related to buying and trading an asset. If you have a sukuk musharaka and sukuk mudaraba, then you must pay zakat on the underlying asset. If the asset is a zakatable asset, first of all, or if it's a trading asset, then you must pay zakat on that as well. I will not be covering the crypto assets. Dr. Farouk will be covering that in a moment. Pension scheme, obviously this is related to the pension schemes in the UK, but what I would like to say is that in many countries, there are certain type of pension scheme which are definitely zakatable. In the UK, the defined contribution scheme is a zakatable scheme. Even if you do not see the money now, even if the money is taken away from your wages, it doesn't matter. If that money is being invested on your behalf, and first of all, you need to ensure that it is Sharia compliant if you can do so. But if that money is being invested on your behalf, then you must pay zakat on the value of the pension pot every year on your zakat anniversary date. However, you also have the option to wait until retirement And when you will cash out the pension money, then you can backdate all your previous years of zakat payment on the value of the pension for each year. Now, this is a final step of the zakat calculation. So up to here, you will have one of the two options. One is either you pay zakat on all the zakatable asset that you have on the day itself. The second option would be to reduce your zakat liabilities by deducting certain debts. And what are these debts that can be deductible? Well, it's a very simple rule. Any debt that has been created prior to your zakat anniversary date, which you need to pay within 12 months period, can be deducted from your zakat calculation. So if my zakat day is today, and I was issued with a bill 2 weeks ago, and I haven't paid it yet, but I know that I'm going to be paying it within the next 12 months, then I can deduct that bill from my zakat calculation. So this is a very simple rule, and that can be applied to anything, obviously beside haram debt. You cannot use haram debt to reduce your zakat liability, but you cannot deduct anything to do with future costs and future expenses. So for example, I cannot deduct the utility bills, my gas bill or my water bills that I think I'm going to be paying in the next 2 or 3 months or 4 months, because these are not debt yet. If you have Islamic home purchase plans, well, obviously double check with your bank, but usually not all of the Islamic home purchase plans scheme are deductible from the zakat calculation. So for example, if you have a diminishing musharaka scheme, then this is not a debt, therefore you cannot deduct the payment that you are doing towards a bank from your zakat calculation. So these are the steps of the zakat calculation. You will add all your zakatable asset. So as I mentioned, the first option would be to just pay zakat on whatever you have. Or the second option is to reduce the zakat liability by deducting some of the debt. This is optional. You don't have to do it. You don't actually have to deduct debt. But if you wish to do it, by all means, you can do so. And if you're going to do that, then you will be paying zakat on the net amount after deducting the liabilities. And finally, who do we need to give zakat to? Well, as I mentioned earlier, there are 8 categories of zakat recipients. If we were to look at them very closely, then we would realize something that the scholars have mentioned, even in Tafsir of Tabari has been mentioned, that the purpose of giving zakat to these people can be summarized in 2 things. That zakat is there to strengthen Islam. So when, for example, giving zakat to the poor, why? Is to save him from falling into kufr. This is one of the hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ, that poverty is something that can lead somebody to kufr. By paying zakat to these poor people, we are actually trying to save them from falling under kufr. Giving zakat to mu'allafatul qulub, those that we need to reconcile the heart with. Why is that? Is to strengthen their iman. Giving zakat in the fi sabilillah causes, again, is to strengthen iman, is to strengthen Islam. So one reason that the scholar says that zakat is given to these categories is to strengthen Islam. And the second reason, it is also to remove hardship from the community. And this is where Islamic social finance comes into play. And this is the end for me. If there is any question, then inshallah, I can take it, inshallah. Jazakumullah.
Thank you very much, Mufti Bilal Umarji, and it was excellent presentation which we have defined about zakat. And Dr. Farooq, there is leftover for Miss Iram. She will be completing.
Yes, she is already there. So
Yeah.
inshallah, we can continue with her.
Please, Miss Iram, are you there? Can you unmute your mic? Yeah, please. Sure. Please go ahead.
Sorry, I am here. My apologies for the inconvenience caused earlier. And thank you, Brother Sayyid Asif Zaman and Dr. Farooq, for letting me finish the last part of the presentation. And Jazakallah khair, brother, for your wonderful presentation. I was just listening to that as well. Coming back to the point where I left was impact of COVID-19 on the economy. And we have discussed that how difficult it is for the businesses and the people to cope up with the impact, the negative impact of COVID. Uh, Second was the point where the institutions are facing problem. Even you talk about the NGOs, you talk about the banks, you talk about the social finance institution, every single institution is facing problems. And people at large are confused how to earn the livelihood during these lockdowns. And even if there is no lockdown, people are trying to take care of their families and themselves. They don't want to go outside, so how they can sell their products and items. The SOPs to follow is not easy for a person who is earning below or less than $2 a day. And the lack of the trained staff in NGOs, in the social finance institutions, the lack of information to the higher ups about the severity of the situation in the countries, the drop in profit, increase in the cost overall, a lack of regulatory support, though some of the regulatory authorities are quite helpful, but still there is a requirement of more for the institution. And lastly, the second last point is what we should do. We as scholars, researchers, academicians, trainers, and businessmen, what we should do, how to support the MSMEs, the needy people, people who are living below poverty. Should we demand more from the government? How to support the clients, how to support the institutional policies, how to liaise with the regulators, customers, donors, the budgets and the cash flows, continuous efforts to safeguard the staff. For all these things right now, we need to utilize or focus on the Islamic social finance. My dear brother before me was mentioning about the zakat and how important it is in Islam to give zakat, and how important it is to make sure that you are paying your zakat as per the nisab and as it is required by the Islam. So we can utilize zakat as a very good instrument in order to support the people who are suffering right now. So again, I would like to mention that 22% of the global population is Muslim, globally all over the world. And the zakat, minimum zakat is given is basically US dollar 200 billion to US dollar 1 trillion annually. How we can focus on that, how we can tap this zakat and utilize it in a much appropriate manner. There are so many questions asked by our dear brother as well regarding the utilization of zakat. To what extent we can utilize zakat on the projects, how we can utilize it. Islam gives clear guidelines that there are 8 categories where you can spend your zakat. Then we need to use technology, as this session is arranged by Alif Technology Institute. So we need to use the technology to make sure we have impactful investment through Islamic social finance, the Waqf blockchain, the digital zakat platforms, digital sadqa for the ease of the people who have money, the green bond, the green sukuk, actually social finance sukuk, impact investment charity, we should do that. And the linkages of the sustainable development goals with our Islamic social finance instrument. If you see that number 1, zero, no poverty, zero hunger, all these are in line with the principles of Islam and Islamic social finance. Even you can talk about the number 14, life below water. Islam appreciate the working for all the communities, either it is on land or below water, to use them productively and not to harm the environment at large. So these are interconnected. Number 1, number 2, the quality education, how we can use Islamic social finance in order to achieve these SDGs. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. I will be here to answer the questions, and over to you, Brother Syed.
Thank you very much, Ms. Iram. And now we are moving to the last speaker, and our last speaker presentation, Dr. Farooq Habib. And let me introduce you about Dr. Farooq Habib. One minute.
Do I need the introduction?
Yeah, you also need an introduction, Dr. Farooq. And I think that let other people also know about you. Dr. Farooq is the co-founder of Alif Technologies, Dubai, and Sharia expert in London. He is expert in Sharia, Islamic law, finance, and fintech. He's an advisor, trainer, and product developer by profession with a strong educational background and vast global experience of more than 9 years. He's involved in Islamic fintech and halal digital economy, focusing in crowdfunding, micro investments, tokenizations, decentralized economy, halal supply management, and Sharia compliance. Previously, he was a researcher at International Sharia Research Academy for Islamic Finance, ISRA, a research institute under the Central Bank of Malaysia. He's a co-editor of ISRA Journal of Islamic Finance and review of many, various reputable academic journals. He also been research in capital markets, Sukuk, banking, social and ethical finance. Dr. Farooq hold a PhD degree in Islamic finance from INSEAD, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He have acquired master degree MSc in banking and finance from Queen Mary University of London. Prior to that, he have obtained master and bachelor degrees from University of Karachi, both in economics, and he have also received traditional Islamic Sharia education through intensive 8 years course in Jamia Ulum Islamia Banuri town. To you, Dr. Farooq. Farooq, can you unmute the mic, please?
Okay, Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and hello everyone. I just want to check that everybody can see my screen, right?
Yes, it's apparent.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I will be talking about zakat on crypto assets because every day almost I receive like tens of queries about two things. Number one is whether which crypto asset is halal and which crypto asset is haram. And people ask me, okay, if this ABC token is halal or not. And the second thing now, since Ramadan has started, people are also have added another question into that section, which is that how we can calculate zakat on crypto assets, and should we pay zakat on crypto assets in the first place or not? So I think that it is a very pertinent question now, because due to the situation created by COVID-19 economic crisis, people are looking at alternative income sources, and digital investment and online investment is one of them. So people are looking into stocks. Crypto assets are now getting popular as well because of this phenomena. So let's, and then I think that it is also very crucial for the Muslim to understand this phenomena and to avoid the haram or prohibited elements, and move forward in a productive direction and in a halal way. So let's jump on the topic now. First of all, we need to understand that what are crypto assets? So the term, I have been, actually this slide, I must tell you that it is almost like 5 years old. The thing is, I have been promoting this idea since 2016 that cryptocurrencies should not be called cryptocurrencies. They are, or not all of them are currencies, by the way, not from the Islamic perspective and not also from the economic perspective. So if you look at the definition of what is money in Islam and or what is currency in economics, then you will find that it is really hard to justify that whether all the cryptocurrencies, crypto assets are currencies or not. So it's a misnomer. And the correct term is actually crypto asset. And how do you define a crypto asset? So it is a digital representation of value that uses cryptographic technique for encryption. So there are three main terminologies in this definition. Number one is it's digital. So which it means that it is virtual, it is an intangible asset, and you cannot touch it physically. So it does not have a physical form, number one. Number two is that it has a value, but then we need to ask the question that where this value is coming from. What is the source of that value? So there are so many sources actually. Number one is trust. So people trust in a system, in a blockchain system, because it is transparent and it is reliable and it is immutable. And because of that, it is also called a trust machine. So due to that trust, people give value to the asset or the number generated by the system itself. And that's where actually it gets its value from. And that's how people see the future of any crypto asset. So for example, Bitcoin, people trust in the blockchain of Bitcoin. And when the blockchain of Bitcoin generates the number, which is actually the original form of Bitcoin, then people basically trust it due to its transparency, due to its decentralization feature, and also due to its immutability, and the fact that you cannot change the data in it. So because of that, people give value to that token, which is Bitcoin. And then you can have a source driven from commodity, underlying business or a project. And even now we have seen a lot of talks going on surrounding central banks digital currency, so for CBDC. So this is basically nothing but a digital cryptographic form of national currencies. So a state and government can also be a source of value similar to our fiat money. So that is another source. And then we have some rights and benefits and user flux attached to a token. And when people see those tokens, when they acquire them, when they trade them, they always look at the utility they offer, whether there is a right or there is a discount or there is a benefit or user flux of that token, which is basically the underlying source of that value. People actually tend to give the price of that token according to that. So that is also another form of value. Now, cryptographic technique is nothing but a security mechanism for encryption and decryption, so that the transaction can be carried out between the parties in a decentralized manner online and in a digital manner also. So that is basically something which is a security feature. So then if you look at the taxonomy of crypto assets, so there are various types of crypto assets. I basically divided them so that like this presentation can be understandable by the people, and the objective that how we apply zakat on different types of crypto asset can be understood. Although like you may find different categorization in the out there. So some of the people, they have categorized crypto assets according to the technology. Some of them, they have categorized crypto assets according to the business or commercial viability. And there are some other factors. For example, based on the underlying asset, you can categorize crypto asset as well. But here I have categorized them according to my taxonomy, so that like we can understand that how we will apply zakat on it. So first of all is cryptocurrencies. Actually, it's a type of crypto asset. So cryptocurrencies can also be called crypto coins. So these are actually coins which are meant to be used as a payment system. And if you further divide them, then you can find some two categories under it. Number one is unstable coins, and the second one is stable coins. Stable coins are actually pegged against the fiat money. For example, we have USDT, US dollar tether, and we have USDC and TUSD, BUSD. So all these are basically pegged against US dollar, and they try to achieve equivalent value as for the US dollar. So, but then we have also unstable coins. Unstable coins are actually those coins which are not pegged against any value or any fiat money, but they are actually meant for payments. So these coins are also called cryptocurrencies, but they are unstable and they have a very high fluctuation in their value. Bitcoin is one of the good example that it is a cryptocurrency and it is an unstable coin because it is not pegged against any fiat money. And then we have tokens, the second category of crypto assets. So these are actually can be divided further into utility tokens and security tokens. Now, third category is hybrid token to assets, which is a mixture of cryptocurrencies and tokens. So they share the features of cryptocurrencies and also tokens. So that is basically a very complex form of crypto asset. So now coming back to tokens again, so we have two categories under tokens. One is utility tokens and the second one is security token. Now, utility tokens basically offer you a sort of utility or benefit in the future. It can be in the form of service, it can be in the form of a discount, or it can be in the form of any right or usufruct. And then the second category is security tokens. Security tokens can be divided further into asset-backed token. So asset-backed tokens are basically those tokens which are backed by an asset, and you can see that like whether it can be backed by gold and silver, or maybe a commodity itself. So you can have a specific commodity, for example, copper, or you can pick any commodity from London Metal Exchange, LME, or any other sort, and then you can basically peg your token against that commodity. And then you can also have a equity token. Real estate tokens are also gaining traction, by the way, and they can be categorized under asset-backed tokens. Then you have equity tokens. Equity tokens are basically a cryptographic digital representation of shares. So that is quite understandable because they represent the ownership interest within the company itself. Third categorization of security tokens is investment tokens. They are basically a cryptographic digital representation of mutual funds or ETFs. So exchange traded funds or even like sukuk can fall under this category. And then you have non-fungible tokens, which is now a very new phenomena. And non-fungible tokens are actually unique and they are attached to a certain asset. That asset can be in the form of an art or a collectible or a unique thing, which is not fungible. So this is basically the main categorization of crypto assets. And then categorization of crypto assets. The first categorization of crypto assets for the purpose of zakat is that we have to check whether a crypto asset is Sharia compliant. Here I'm using an abbreviation of SC. So you will be finding this SC in my in my slides, in my next slides also. And then we have Sharia non-compliant crypto assets, SNC. So right away, I must tell you that like Mufti Bilal has also pointed out that if an asset or a property is not Sharia compliant, then that you do not pay zakat on it, but you have to give it to the charity. So for example, so the ruling of Sharia non-compliant crypto asset is that initially you should not be buying those, holding those, or investing in those crypto assets. But if someone has already done that, then there is a difference of opinion among Sharia scholars. So some Sharia scholars say that okay, the Sharia scholars are unanimous on the point that if there is profit, then it should be immediately the asset should be immediately sold, and the initial investment can be kept, while the whole profit should be given to charity without the intention of reward. So that is basically the Sharia ruling if you are making profit. But what if you are making losses? So then Sharia scholars have been divided into two. Some Sharia scholars say that even then you should immediately sell those assets and keep the initial capital at a loss. So whatever the loss has been done, it is the penalty on you, that like why you did not check it before investing in it, that whether it is the crypto asset was Sharia compliant or not. Now, second approach is that then you can hold the crypto asset until it reaches to the value where you are break even. You can basically recover your initial capital. Only then you can sell it, and you can basically keep it until then. But you cannot trade it actively for such purpose. So that is basically the second opinion. And third thing is like if such assets are given for free, because I have seen that these tokens to create value and to create the community are being distributed as airdropped. So if it is airdropped, then the whole amount of such asset should be sold, and the price received by should be given to the charity without the intention of reward again. So this is basically the initial ruling. So you are not paying zakat on Sharia non-compliant assets. Now, another fact, now we will talk about the zakat on the Sharia compliant crypto assets only, but we need to be reminded of that impact of zakat the impact of intention on zakat calculation is very, very huge, because there is a hadith saying that the deeds depend upon the intentions. Innamal a'malu binniyat. So intentions plays a very crucial role in the calculation of zakat, and then we will discover it in the next slides also, that how it plays its role. So in rule number one, that any crypto asset bought with the intention of trading is subject to zakat, because it will become a tradable asset, or we call it also malut tijari. And since just like Mufti Bilal has already said that they are all subject to zakat, so we have to calculate the zakat of the market value at the time of calculation of zakat. Rule number two is cryptocurrencies. Now I'm talking about cryptocurrencies here, not crypto assets. So those basically which are either stable or unstable coins, which are meant to be payment system, are subject to zakat regardless of the intention. Why? Because they are considered as cash. And then rule number three is that if the intention is not clear, that why you have bought it, and these assets are crypto assets except cryptocurrencies, then you also do not know that whether you are going to trade that asset, but you want to acquire it, then the zakat will be calculated based on the nature of the crypto asset itself. So just like the nature of the crypto asset can be determined according to the taxonomy, which I have shown you in the previous slides. So now talking about specifically for each and every category of crypto asset and how to apply zakat calculation on it. So we have to see first 6 Sharia compliant utility tokens. So if they are bought with the intention of trading, then zakat will be calculated on 100% of the market value of the tokens at the time of zakat calculation. So like today, if let's suppose that today you are holding 10 types of utility tokens, and you want to calculate zakat on today, because this is basically your zakat anniversary according to Mufti Bilal. So if this is the zakat anniversary today, this is the day of your zakat anniversary, you will calculate the value of that utility token today. Then you have to pay it. Now some people they delay it also. Some people they tend to pay zakat upfront. So it depends on them. So if they are paying zakat upfront, I mean before the zakat anniversary day, then they have to calculate it on the day when they are paying zakat. And if they are paying later than the zakat anniversary day, then they have to consider the value of the given token on the zakat anniversary day. And then if those Sharia compliant utility tokens are bought with the intention of availing the utility itself offered by the tokens, then there will be no zakat on it. And if the intention is not clear, or no primary intention was there, somebody has just bought them, then again zakat will not be paid on them. About Sharia compliant asset-backed tokens. So gold and silver-backed tokens, we have first categorization of asset-backed tokens. So regardless of the intention, zakat will be calculated according to the Sharia standards of zakat on gold and silver. And if they are commodity-backed tokens, then if you have purchases for an investment purpose, then zakat will depend on the underlying asset, that what is the commodity behind it. But if they are purchased with the intention of trading, then again it will become malu tijari, or you can call it tradable asset. So you have to pay zakat on the 100% market value of that asset. And if they are real estate backed tokens, so if you have, again, it is similar to commodity based backed tokens, but the only difference is that, like, if you have purchased a real estate token to own the underlying piece of land for personal use, then there will not be any zakat on it. Now, talking about other categories, for example, like equity tokens, investment, Sharia compliant investment tokens, or Sharia compliant non-fungible tokens. So we will focus on equity tokens. So if they are purchased as an investment to receive dividends, zakat will depend on the underlying zakatable assets of the company. So that is basically, again, I refer to Mufti Bilal's slide where he talked about zakat calculation on company shares. So it will be same as those. And then if they are purchased with the intention of trading or to receive capital gains, so like it is again for day trading or swing trading, then zakat will be calculated on the 100% market value of those equity tokens. And then for investment tokens, then they are tokens representing mutual funds, unit trusts, sukuk, etc. So if again they are purchased for investment purposes, zakat will depend on the underlying asset, or you can basically refer to the zakat on sukuk or unit trust or investment funds. And if they are purchased with the intention of just day trading, then of course 100% of the market value will be zakatable. And non-fungible tokens are basically something which are gaining popularity among the masses right now. So if they are purchased with the intention of trading, there is no doubt that 100% zakat will be applicable on their market value. But if the underlying asset is a collectible or Sharia compliant art, and the intention is to keep it for your own as a hobby, or for just for your just because you like it, so then there will be no zakat on it. So this is basically my presentation. One thing I also want to add in it, that there is another type of token which is called governance token. So governance token are basically bought because they offer the holders a right to vote in a project. So basically this does not represent anything but a right. So those governance tokens are also excluded from the zakat calculation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Farooq. Very elaborative presentation you have given on them. Dr. Farooq, there are some questions. Can you see on the chat box? And I think there are some questions left over to be answered. And there is a question. Can you read out and see that the relevant speaker can answer that one, please?
Sure. So I think that some of the question has already been answered and some of them are open. So I would basically ask these questions and then get the feedback from our respected panelists. So first question is how we can use zakat as a tool of financing for new businesses. So I think that if I can get some answer from Dr. Iram Sabah, that would be nice.
Thank you so much, Brother Farooq. And that's a very important question. You see, in Islam, to whom we are supposed to pay zakat is very clear. We have 8 categories and we have to make payment to those 8 categories simply. Now, if somebody is miskeen, and when you make payment of zakat to him or her, and then he or she start the business or start some venture, then it's totally up to that particular person. You are giving zakat to somebody from one of the category of those 8 asnaf that we have, And then if the person start the business, there is no issue at all. There is no harm. The person can start the business with the money of zakat. But when you are going to give zakat money to that particular person, you have to ensure that he falls under one of the category that is mentioned in Islam. And that is the simple way to help people at large.
Okay, perfect. Mufti Bilal Sahab, would you like to add some more on it?
No, I think Dr. Iram has beautifully put it. Nothing to add.
Okay, perfect. So I will move on to my next question, which is that it's a very long question. Let me just read it and bear with me. That Pakistan, being Islamic state, can collect trillions of rupees from individuals and businesses and can control, if not eliminate, poverty level. But since government lost trust on zakat issues, people prefer to pay directly, not through government. Although government deducts zakat at sources from bank accounts and investments. So why SECP in the Companies Act 2017 confined duty of auditors to just zakat deductible at source and deposit it instead of computation of zakat on zakatable assets, less deductible liabilities, and calculating and depositing zakat thereon after restoration of trust in public to eliminate poverty and control crimes? I think that this is a very long question and it's very technical.
Again, I think Dr. Kaisar
but Dr.
will
Kaisar,
invite.
I will just summarize it for you, not going very specificities and the nitty-gritties of the question, but what do you think, what is the main reason that people are losing trust on governments? I'm not talking about specifically Pakistani government, but when it comes to zakat, why government administered zakat institutions are not very efficient?
Can I answer this?
Yes, please. It's pointed to you.
Okay. The point is this, that this has been collected since decade, this deduction, compulsory deduction. At one time in law been said that, okay, such percentage to be deducted at the balance on the 1st of Ramadan every year. The government has a responsibility, right? Government has taken the money, but government has side by side should be a responsibility that so much fund has been collected and where has been utilized. Okay, they have a card system of distributing things, but that again, it is just the masses knows that this has been distributed from that zakat. But if it is properly way accounted, that we have collected 1 trillion such and such, and we have done so much projects on that account, or we have distributed to the poor people like 8 category, and a statement issued publicly, that trust will generate and more people will contribute. Now, if you know, recently, the Governor, State Bank of Pakistan, Excellency Zakir Saab, has a new policy for this under RDA to collect from overseas Pakistani. They keep on eyeing on overseas Pakistani to collect through the RDA to improve their system. Very good. But you must also, when you take money, you have a responsibility. If anybody has a right to take, he has a responsibility also. And the Pakistan government or the tax department or whatever I say, I'm not pointing in department, they have the responsibility to the nation that they should publish this document. And then there'll be more trust, then there'll be more money they can receive, and they can plan things for future that if we have this, we will have so much development program for the poor. That is my submission.
Mm-hmm. And I think that I would just like to add an important point that people are losing trust because there is no transparency sometimes on in the government institutions, and then how it is being used. And so I think that technology like blockchain can be very beneficial in this regard, because blockchain is actually is providing confidence, full disclosure, complete auditable records, and also transparency. So with these features, I think that it's a very high time to look at this technology and use it for the betterment of the whole society.
Now, the blockchain is a very good technology, should be utilized. But that again, the knowledge that the government department, sorry to say, they will not have it. But irrespective, is our responsibility also. We are sitting, all important people sitting here, speaking to all the audience. We should take up and write it in the portal of Prime Minister that, okay, we want to know such and such thing. And I will request for everyone, I will also write that you collect zakat, we should be transparent in it. You should tell where the money has gone. I suggest everyone should write to them. It's enough time that we keep on waiting that somebody will say yes and somebody will do on this thing and keep on. I think we should demand now our rights from them. And especially the educated class, that they should demand instead of like a silent force watching the thing. We should not stand watching on things anymore.
Perfect. Completely agree. Dr. Iram Sabah, in your knowledge, do you think that we have any extensive study or research which can tell us that how much zakat is being paid in Pakistan, how much is being collected privately and at the government level, and how it is being used? Have you come across any report or any research on it?
Thank you, Dr. Farooq. I don't have up-to-date research regarding the money collected by the government, and unfortunately, we don't have such database publicly open to everyone. Maybe Mehkama Zakat and Awqaf, they might have documents for sure, but they didn't disclose it. So if you go to their website, you will not find relevant information. I tried many times to see that how much zakat is collected by the government directly and where it is spent, but you will not see on the website of Mehkama Zakat and Awqaf. So this is one of the reasons. And another issue we face is basically that all the provinces now in Pakistan, they have their own Zakat Act. So when they have their own Zakat Act, they have their own collection, and they need to, I must say that they need to improve their systems at the province level as well, and at the same time at the federal level. So we don't have any research that can share the data like transparent, black and white. We don't have any report like that.
But do you think that like these records or these kind of reports and research will definitely help in increasing the efficiency level of zakat administration and distribution?
Yes, definitely. Our very respected, panelist, Dr. S. Kaisar, mentioned that if you show to the public that we have received, say, for example, 23 million in the shape of zakat from you, and we have spent like 50% of that for the poor people in order to give them ration, and if we show them the details, then definitely people will trust on the government more. They want to see where the money is spent, simple like that. So you show them and people will start trusting the government, and they would like to see that either the money is used in order to buy new cars or the money is really spent on the public. So people are looking forward to that.
I have one question for Mufti Bilal Sahab, that can a loan be extended to a poor acquaintance, be waived off by treating it as a zakat for if that person is eligible to get zakat? So for example, if there is a person who has given a loan to that person, to the borrower, and the borrower is eligible for zakat, so can we consider that, okay, that loan has been waived because the creditor wants to pay its zakat in this way?
Yeah, the majority of the scholars across all four schools of jurisprudence say that this is not permissible to do that, because in reality, the payer, if he was to do that, he's benefiting himself. So, instead of paying the zakat, he's waiving the loan, but he has to pay the zakat. So he, in a sense, he's benefiting himself. And zakat is the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. So you have to fulfill that right. Yes, there are some opinion regarding the payment of the zakat to the person that owes you money. And what if that person, then the recipient, uses that money to pay the debt that he owes to you? Is this permissible or not? The scholars say this is permissible as long as there is no hila. It wasn't a stratagem. It wasn't put in place that I'm going to give you my zakat, but you must return it to me. This is not permissible. And this unfortunately happens a lot, and especially in madrasas, which is a very controversial topic. But according to many scholars, this is not permissible to do that if this was pre-planned in advance.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. But how about like if let's suppose that a stratagem is used to make it zakat? I mean, what you have said is something I want to reverse it. For example, there is a borrower and a lender. So the lender wants to waive its or her loan on the borrower and consider it as zakat, but he cannot do so. So can he ask the borrower to get the money on loan and take that money and pay to the lender first? So now the loan has been paid, and then the creditor will pay the same money to the borrower as zakat.
Yeah, so basically you're telling the lender to go, the borrower, go lend money, pay me my money, and then I will pay you my zakat.
Yeah.
From a fiqh perspective, this is valid, but is it morally acceptable? This is a question.
Okay.
Because in a way, you are still, first of all, you are making a condition attached with the payment of zakat, which scholars say is not permissible. You cannot tell somebody that I'm going to give you my zakat, but only if you're going to do this. You understand?
Okay.
So this is a question mark as well.
Okay, perfect. So we have another comment actually that yes, with the Dr. Iram Sabah's statement and responses that that is why public have no trust on governments, as their zakat related data is not open to everyone. So I think that openness in the data and sharing the data is a very crucial point. And then
Dr. Farooq, can we invite Danish Kazi who is the president of IBA Alumni UAE chapter, to have his remarks on these things, the openness and the zakat? Danish,
yes,
Danish, are you there?
Danish, if he's available, then of course, by all means, you can join the panel discussion.
Yes, Asif bhai, I am there, but you'll have to bear with me now. I'm just walking to my car. Give me 2 minutes, please.
No problem. Meanwhile, we have, let's have remarks from Miss Alia. She's a fellow member of Institute of Cost and Management of Pakistan, which are one of our knowledge partners in this webinar also. Miss Alia.
Thank you, Mr. Asif. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you for providing this opportunity. Yes, I would like to add from starting what Mr. Asif has ended in the initial beginning. The worldwide economic slowdown is among one of the consequences of COVID-19. But on the other hand, we have seen that pandemic has aroused extraordinary solidarity among citizens, all elements of society working each other. Not only Muslims, but Islam offers numerous applicable solutions that best assist the mitigation of poverty in this present time of COVID, like zakat we have been discussing, infaq and sadaqah. And we should unleash full power of zakat during this pandemic breakdown. And it has been proven from Islamic history that if properly managed, zakat can be more to elevate poverty, and it has been successful tool for reduction and even complete eradiction in the era of Khalifa Hazrat Umar bin Khattab Razil Anhu in 13 to 22 Hijri, and in the era of Umar bin Abdul Aziz 99 till 101 Hijri. The condition of people during that time were so prosperous that there was no eligible recipient of zakat at that time. But it doesn't mean there wasn't any challenges, as people were asking what government should do. They are not doing anything, why there is not trust element. I would say that after the death of Prophet, peace be upon him, some Arab tribes declined to pay zakat by saying, we used to give zakat to Muhammad, but now Muhammad is no more, peace be upon him, and hence we are not eligible or not obliged to give zakat. But Khalifa Abu Bakr Anhu mobilized armies to fight against those people. And he said that by Allah, if they withhold the rope of a camel they used to give in zakat to Allah's messenger, I will fight them for it. So it's the government duty to implement zakat system And if properly managed, why, as Dr. Farooq said, through technology, blockchain, audit system, Zakat can be used for national and emergency support programs in the present time. And it will reduce inequality, it will improve social welfare and promote economic growth. That's what I would like to add. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much.
much, Alia. Danish, are you there?
I think that he will come back. I have one
Yes,
question.
Asif bhai, if you can just be another minute, please.
Yeah,
I
sure,
just
sure.
actually had to leave office.
No, no, it's
Just in
okay.
my car.
Fine, fine, fine. No
Just give
problem.
me a second, please.
Sure.
I'll join.
Also, I wanted to add something.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Alia, whatever you mentioned is absolutely correct. There is no doubt about it. Here, the issue is not that one should give the zakat to the government or not, or one is paying zakat or not. The point is that people in Pakistan and all over the world, most of the time, they do pay zakat. Those who are knowledgeable, those who know the importance of zakat and how strictly it is, you know, made compulsory for the Muslims to give zakat, they do pay their zakat and they are paying it. But the point we were referring to is that people who pay zakat, they feel more comfortable paying it at their own directly as compared to giving it to the government and relying on the government to distribute it further. So the issue was not of paying zakat or not. People are paying. But the point was either they are paying it directly at their own to the institution, say, for example, like Indus Hospital, Ahuwa, Shaukat Khanam, and so on and so forth, or TCF. But on the other hand, they are not feeling comfortable giving it to the government directly. They are not trusting it. And I'm not saying it for the current time period. I'm saying it across the board, like for the past 20, 30 years. Rather more, the trust level is not that much when it comes to the government support in order to distribute the zakat. So this is my point to add. Thank you.
Yes, I would like to
Asif,
add, Iram.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would like
please.
to reply. Yeah, I would like to say that yes, the main factor is trust. It's being a true Muslim. You have to depict the qualities of a Muslim because zakat is a Muslim society third pillar. Now, I would like to add what Hazrat Ali has said. His quote is that even if a dog dies hungry on the bank of river Euphrates, Umar will be responsible for dereliction of duty. So it's the duty of the government. They should be trustworthy. They should be able to provide trust that zakat, it's nothing to be used for illegal purpose. It has to be utilized for the benefit of society, for eliminating the poverty of the society. So when we start thinking like a true Muslim, like the Khalifas, obviously no one can be reach that level, but if we feel like that this is our duty, it should be government at every level, then there will be, I think 100% it will be utilized and people will have trust, but they have to, show something. They have to depict, there has to be transparency. Like Dr. Farooq said, blockchain will bring transparency. So we have to use the technology. Even in Prophet Muhammad's era, there was officers, in Khalifa's era, there was officers who were responsible to collect that zakat. And in Khalifa Umar Rajatullah Anhu, there was a budgetary system collection for revenue, its expenditure, the people who were assigned, who will be responsible for collecting and who will be responsible for expending those expenditures, and where will they will be allocated, and there were auditors also at that time. So whole system has to be, revamped. That's what I would like to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Danish, are you there?
yes, I am. Sorry, actually, we are shifting office today, so so basically, there has been a very constructive discussion on how much of I can grasp. And I'm not an expert on Sharia or Zakat or accounts, as most of you are. I'm in the presence of muftis, two muftis, experts on from IBA, business experts. So I cannot add more to it. But I will tell you a little story which I was asked a question a few days ago. As you are aware, Asif bhai, that I'm engaged a lot in social work. A person asked me this question that if poor people cannot make new clothes and poor people cannot afford to have those festivities at the time of Eid, why it is such a compulsion to do it? And because at the time of after the end of Ramadan, when the Ramadan ends, it creates a big disparity when some can afford to buy new clothes and some cannot afford to buy new clothes. And when that person asked me this question, in my little judgment of knowledge which I have, I answered that this is the reason why God has implemented a system of zakat on us. That you do the charity openly to those people so that they're able to afford and come into that situation and celebrate such festivities along with you at the end of month of Ramadan. Uh, Ironically, as I could hear what our fellow colleague from IBA said, Mr. Ramsabha, that she has been trying to find out that how much actually Zakat works is collecting as Zakat funds each year and how much they are spending, where they are spending. This is where Dr. Kasserani also highlighted. So it is ironic in its own that there is no transparency here. No wonder why people are not willing to dole out zakat. Now, to answer one last point, it's not that people don't want to pay zakat. They do, but they are not doing it in a very organized or a regimental manner. If it is being done in an organized and a regimental manner, I'm sure not only that it can benefit the society, but also it could benefit our governments as well at the end of the day. Okay. So what we need to see is eventually how do we need to regularize this? Could blockchain be the solution? Could our own our own considerations could be a solution? I think it's not that people don't want to give. It's about how do we regulate it and kind of streamline the whole process, which is lacking, so that people like me, when we are doing that social service, is not asked this question that why should I celebrate Eid when I cannot have afford to buy new clothes or shoes or even afford to have food in my house. So that's the two pence of my thought process I would like to put in front of a very expert panel, which I'm not very qualified to speak of in front of them in the first place. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So humble of you, Danish. We have two hands raised actually. So let me allow them to turn on their audio and then ask the questions directly. So first is Sadaqat Ali Khan. So if you would like to, you can go ahead and ask the question. So, Mr. Sadaqat, are you there? Okay. Anyway, so I will ask Mr. Hafiz to ask his question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Asif Zaman Khan, Mr. Farooq, and other members. I'm only want to share my feeling. I'm not a qualified person of Islamic, Sharia, or other things. I like everybody's opinion, but I am strongly disagree everyone. Strongly disagree, because no one is asking, no one is saying about the attribute and the qualities of the person when they are selecting the government. They are not saying the qualities of the person when they are selecting the muftis, when they are giving the degrees, when they are making the mosque, the ulmas are there. Why this mosque system is in the Muslim culture is disaster, completely disaster. This is my feeling, because the mosque, every area of the, they can look after, they know who is a poor person, but nobody believes this, even the mosque system. And we cannot blame in the government as well, because we are selecting the government. The problem is 1.7 billion Muslims, they complete not connected each other. The feeling distance, lot of distance between them. So please understand, the zakat is a one thing only in the Quran. The Quran overall, the main thing we left behind everything. So please come together and try to start listen the feeling each other. When we start the social businesses and we want to be billionaire, if I want to billionaire, I want to see the billionaire other person. This is a feeling of Muslim. This should come in. But unfortunately, this feeling in the non-Muslim today. And you cannot find the non-Muslim. The poor people are lesser than the Muslim. The whole community of Muslim are the beggar today. Very few countries, small countries, they are there. Yeah,
Mr.
please
Hafiz,
look
I really
look into this.
respect your feeling, but I think that your feelings are more of general feelings, and then we are not saying that we disagree or agree with those feelings, but we are trying basically to focus on one thing over here, which is Islamic social finance and zakat related issues. So if you have very specific comment or question regarding
Yeah,
this, I
please,
would
please,
like to
please,
welcome you.
please, one thing start social business. Social business is the only thing which get rid of all the problem. You can hire the people, make the people skillful. There will be no poor in the system. Other theories are more, the practicalism is a more thing important. Be a practical people here. So if we practice, so everything will be easy. Islam is the practice, nothing else.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
I think there is no more question and we have answered. So Dr. Farooq, and we would like to thanks to everybody. Shall we do the closing?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm thankful to all my esteemed speakers and the panelists for attending this one, and the participant patiently listening for us for more than around 2 hours. I thanks Nibaf and Dr. Riaz Chunara Sahab, and from Pakistan Business and Professional Council, Dr. Kaisar Anis, Miss Iram Sabah, Mufti Bilal Umarji, and Miss Alia from ICMAP, and all Danish Qazi from IBA UA Alumni Chapter. And thanks everyone, and hopefully you have gained some knowledge on these webinars, and do give us feedbacks, and thank you for attending this webinar. Assalamu alaikum.